welcome to episode 78 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki. I'm NikkiHippy on Ravelry, and if you search for Tea and Possibilities under the groups tab, you'll find our group right there. As always, there will be a chatter thread about this episode in the Ravelry group if you would like to go and have a chat about this episode there. I will link to that and everything else just down below. Just a heads up to say regarding those links just down there, I am continuing where I can to provide both Ravelry and alternative links for those who can't access Ravelry. I am struggling to find somewhere where we could host the chatter thread as an alternative to Ravelry, and what I haven't done recently is put up a post on Instagram about the episode. So I think for the time being what I will do is I will start doing that again, and I will direct you to that Instagram post, and that can be the chatter thread for those of you who are unable to access Ravelry. And of course, if I do find an alternative platform, I will host in both places. All of that to say, thank you so much for giving the podcast a shot if you are a new viewer, and if you are one of my returning viewers, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it, and I love that you come back every episode. Today's tea is my usual Earl Grey, but it is in a very special mug because this is my Rex Factor Privy Councillor mug, and I thought I had lost it. Now, for those of you who may be new or don't remember, I am a massive Rex Factor fan, and I am a patron on Patreon. Whatever, I'm a Privy Councillor. So I got the tier that got me the free mug, and I was a bit gutted that I thought I'd lost it when I moved back home. But I was going through the cupboard downstairs and it was tucked away back in the cupboard, so hooray. Oh, and that was far too hot for a first sip. But now let's move on to Whipped Up. Now, I actually have a few different things to show you this week, which is good news, because I feel like I've been a little bit for, that was attractive, wasn't it? But I do feel that I've been a little bit kind of low for the past few episodes, and one of my things is if I feel a bit low or I feel like I haven't done enough, I still want to do an episode because I think that showing up authentically is really important, particularly during this time of quarantine and lockdown. And it was important to me to come on camera per every episode and say, I'm not feeling great about it, and here is how I'm coping and here is how I'm not coping, because I think that honesty at this time, at every time really, is really important. However, I have felt a lot better this week. We will be talking a little bit more about that in Knit and Natter, and I think it's kind of reflected in my making. I'm still feeling fairly monogamous. I don't know if that's just now a habit that I'm kind of stuck with. Stuck with sounds bad. It's not bad, but it doesn't allow for a great variety in content. So there is that. But I do have a faux for you. All of that blather to say, I have a faux. And this is my faux. Isn't he lovely? This is the mini Triceratops kit by Sincerely Louise. I cannot remember when, but I have knit a larger version of this, which I would grab, but is away, and would be annoying to have to climb over things to get to it. I should have got her out before, really. Anyway, but this is the mini version of it. As far as I could tell, the pattern was the same. It's just, I think, a smaller size needle and a lighter weight yarn. I called my original dinosaur Dinah, because original, and I have called him Triss. He may be renamed because he's not for me. This is for my cousin's baby. He turned 1 in March, and obviously due to lockdown we weren't able to see them, and we are hoping to see them very soon, so I wanted to get him knit up so he was finished. And I have had this week off, and he took me about a day in total. It was over 2 days, but I think about a day in total. And he's a little bit wobbly. He's not perfect, because as anyone who's been watching this podcast for a while will know, sewing up, not my forte. Toys, not my forte. Case in point. But but I love him. I think he's turned out really well. The smaller version of these trophy heads comes with more of a trophy board than the larger ones. The larger ones have ones that you pull the back of the knitting over. And I really like this. I'm going to put a little note on here for my cousin's baby, just, you know, like when it was made and who it was from and stuff. And then that will hang in his nursery, and I think he's really cute. I will definitely make more of these. I have told a friend of mine that when they redecorate her daughter's room, I will make a dinosaur or a unicorn or a zebra, whatever it is she's into, I will make one, because they are really fun to make. And I think they're very, very forgiving, because I'm looking at him and yeah, I did not do the best job with his little like beak. His beak is super wonky. Basically, here's some insight into how I did this. I wanted to concentrate on the pattern, so I decided that I would put on something just for company that I didn't really have to care about or engage with, so I put on the Twilight films. And I've never seen them before, but basically it took all of the Twilight films for me to make this. They're awful. So bad. There were 4 films and I don't actually know. I couldn't really tell you what happened. Nothing really happens, which is why they were great knitting, because it was just company. I didn't have to concentrate, and I was able to concentrate on him. However, I got really into it and I stayed up super late, which is probably why he's a little bit wonky. But I love him. I think he's super cute. And I think the whole thing is, as you can see, I don't think he looks bad, that he's a bit wonky, that his beak's a bit off kilter. I think it's an incredibly forgiving pattern, and that in itself is worth every penny. And I just love it. I think that's going to look so cute on the wall. And I'm wondering if maybe I should get some felt and do like a little banner to hang around his neck with the baby's name on. I say baby. Are they still babies when they're a year old? Little person. His son. But yes, I might put his name on it. I don't know yet. If I do, I will show you. If I don't, assume I didn't. But as foes go, I'm quite happy with that. Next up, I really, really wanted to show a hoe, but instead I have a tale of woe. Honestly, the poetics that I give you guys, you're so lucky. Just opening up my little project bag to show you my Elton In Sock. And this is the Elton In Sock by Kalisha Ryan of the Quirky Monday podcast. And the main body of the sock is knit in 3rd Volt yarns, companion 4-ply in Binti, and the grey contrast is Stranded Dye Works in First Frost. Now, it doesn't look like I've done very much, but I actually have. I've actually done the heel on this twice. It may have been 3 times. But let me tell you about it. So I'm still fairly new to socks. It was only about 2 years ago, or a year and a half even maybe, that I got into knitting them and like they clicked for me. And I used the Meanwhile at the Castle video tutorials, and to anyone who wants to learn to knit socks, I really recommend them, purely because I've watched a lot and that's what worked for me. But using that recipe, I've always done a heel flap and gusset. I have never done, I believe it's called a wrap and turn heel. So I just followed the pattern. I was watching The Old Guard on Netflix, which is very, very good, and I hope there will be a sequel. But I was watching that, and potentially that's why it didn't go perfectly, because that wasn't something you can just kick back and have going in the background. It was very engaging and I wanted to watch it. So my little silver heel that went in, it was really straightforward to do, I will say that, and Kalisha's instructions are perfectly clear. However, wrap and turns, short rows are not things that I am particularly adept at. I've only got into doing them regularly by doing heels in socks in the past 18 months, 2 years, so I'm not super, super great at them. And I noticed when I finished it that one side was perfect. Oh God, I wish I'd taken a picture and I could have put it in here, because it was perfect. And I was like, look at that, I'm amazing. Like, what a knitter. I just did that and it's, oh, look. And then I turned it around and was like, oh. Because the kind of diagonal seam on the heel was just holes. And I looked at it and I left it and I went and had a cup of tea and I ate a mini roll, which is actually, I've just had a mini roll myself. So clearly they're my medicine of choice when I'm about to do things. But I came back to it and I went, no, Nikki, if you pick up and continue to knit the sock just because you want to have a finished object or a hoe, you're going to be annoyed. I'm going to be annoyed wearing them because there'll be this hole, and I'm sure that means they won't wear very well. And ultimately, I've saved this yarn for like a year. I think I got it at last year's, maybe the year before, but I've definitely had it at least a year. And what I don't want to do is use special yarn and then not, you know, and they're a special pair of socks because it's my first pattern sock as well. And what I don't want to do is then knit them up and never wear them because they don't fit right or they look bad. If I'm going to learn this technique, now is the time to learn it. So I pulled it out and I did it again. And this time I was watching Tangled. This is the episode where I tell you everything I watched while I was doing things. I don't know why I can remember. I can't normally remember this well. But I was watching Tangled and I put it back in thinking if I just pull everything that bit tighter, that will do the trick. And it was less of a comfortable and enjoyable knitting experience. However, it did seem to work. So one side was really neat and the other side, the knit side I think, was neater. However, because I was watching Tangled and I really enjoy that film, I've seen it so many times, that's kind of why I put it on, because I was like, I'll be able to concentrate because I've seen it before, but I enjoy it, so I wasn't concentrating at all, and I think I missed a few pickups and etc, so it just didn't work. So I think what I'm going to do is when I have finished this for today, I'm going to get this all edited and done, and then I'm going to sit down and not do anything apart from do the heel. Maybe put a podcast on to listen to, because at least then I'm not looking at something. I might also have a quick look on YouTube to see if there's any hints and tips for how to pick up wraps and how to make a wrap and turn heel beautiful. Because honestly, one side was beautiful, so I think that was what got me about this. Because one side was perfect, not perfect because nothing is, but because one side was very good and the other wasn't, I knew that would grate on me, that they were right next to each other and one was good and one wasn't. And also it just meant I knew what it should look like. I think if it had been a bit, you know, rubbishy on both sides, I wouldn't have minded so much, but I definitely minded. And also they look so neat in the pattern pictures, so doing it again. But you know, I'm just a big proponent of that. Like, I really do agree with the Knitmore girls when they say if you don't like it now, you are not going to like it 2 inches or 10 inches later. So fix it now. And particularly when it's a new technique, you know, I could just knit another pair and they'll be a bit better, and then another pair and they'll be a bit better. Or I could just rip this one out until it's good enough, you know, and then that will be good enough and I'll keep getting better thereafter, but at least they will then be wearable and I will be happy with them. And I think that's the main thing. Now, the other thing I've been working on may come as a bit of a surprise actually, because it has been pretty warm. It's been so lovely, the weather recently. But I've been working on my cozy stripes blanket, which yes, is crocheted. Maybe I should rename it Crozy Stripes. This is how much I have left of my magic ball, and I wish I knew what this colourway was. It's grey, I don't know if you can see, but with like shots of bright yellow, mustardy yellow, turquoise greens, and honestly, that's me. Like, you know, I mean, you can see by my earrings, I love a bit of gold / mustard with turquoise, love my greens, so I would love a jumper out of that, she says, having not actually finished a jumper recently, but whatever. I didn't think to put a progress keeper in. Oh dear. But I have done from about there. So I've done about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. And the reason I picked this up is because, as always, it's mindless and it's quite easy to kind of have on one side of me. and only have a little bit kind of on me. So in the winter I tend to throw it over myself and crochet myself under it. But it is actually quite easy to have to the side, so it's not too warm a project. And the other reason that I have been working on it is because a friend of mine has gotten really into crochet. If you have watched the podcast before, she is the friend who made a little guest appearance when I gave her the Ramadan cow that I'd made out of her mother's yarn. And since then, she's gotten into more crafting herself. She's always been a really creative and crafty person, but she's really gotten into embroidery, and it's absolutely beautiful, the things she's making, and also crochet. And she's crocheted a couple of blankets already, and she's crocheted some baskets, which is kind of making me feel like I want to do it, but I also don't want to buy any more yarn at the moment. I kind of want to work through what I have for a little while. But I picked this up, is basically what I'm trying to say. And it's getting there, guys. It is getting there. And I can't wait to have it finished. And I can't wait to have this finished. It's going to be so lovely to have on the bed, or, you know, maybe on my future sofa one day, and just lovely. And I will make another one, probably a different size, but there is definitely, I pulled out my mini stash the other day, and there is definitely more minis than I need here. So I actually might make up a magic ball for her, because I know she quite likes this and she quite likes the weight of it, and then maybe start another one for me. Although I was thinking I might do one a bit like Amy's done, where she did it with the opal advent yarn, where she made little squares and then joined them with grey. So I might do that. I quite like that idea, so I might do that. But basically, I have minis to use. And I will be, when I do my next magic ball, I will be kind of tying the ends together very, very lightly, just to kind of keep them together. And then when I get to them, doing the clasp, I can't ever say it, clasped weft join, which is where you kind of put a loop in it and then hook another loop through it. Crochet your end in that way, which is a lot more secure, I now think, than the magic join. So yes, I've been working on this, and it makes me happy, as always. Now, before we go on to knit and natter, I wanted just to do a quick check-in about the Summer of Socks cowl, because that is why I'm knitting socks at the moment, because it is the Summer of Socks. First of all, we have a new prize announcement, and Anushka of the Crimson Stitchery and the Crimson Stitchery podcast has donated the sock pattern of your choice for a winner. And I have contacted all of my prize donors, and I can confirm that we will be able to offer an alternative to Ravelry if you are unable to access it to get your pattern prize. So probably what we'll do is, when I've pulled the winners, half from Instagram, half from Ravelry, I will do the announcement on here, as I always do, and I will ask you to ping me a message. I will figure that out nearer the time, and if you could let me know in that message whether you want it via email or via Ravelry, and we'll work it out like that. But that's it for Whipped Up this week. I felt busier than my projects make it appear. I definitely thought I'd made more. It's quite humbling to come on here and present 2 weeks worth of progress and not have as much as you thought you had. But now let's move on to knit and natter. Today's knit and natter, as you have probably seen throughout the episode, I am getting my mojo back. And when I say that, I don't just mean my knitting mojo, I mean my general Nikki mojo. Nojo. That doesn't work at all, does it? No. But I generally just feel a lot happier and a lot better recently. And that is because lockdown here in London is easing. Now, whether or not that is right is really a conversation that I do not feel qualified to have, because I am not a medical professional. However, I am trusting to government advice, such as it is, and I am enjoying the fact that it has lifted somewhat. And this has meant that I have been able to go on some really lovely long walks. and really get out and stretch my legs for the first time in a really long time. Now this week I have actually had the week off work. Today is Friday and I obviously wouldn't be recording on a Friday normally, but I've had this week off work. And I had this week off work because I was meant to be hiking the Freedom Trail from France into Spain, and unfortunately, about late February, early March, this was cancelled. And I rescheduled it to the end of August, beginning of September, the kind of week that straddles those 2 months. And I have had confirmation this week that unfortunately that will not be going ahead because of COVID. I am rescheduling it to next year, so please keep your fingers crossed for me that I'll be able to go next year. But I am, despite this disappointment, trying to embrace the fact that lockdown is easing. And it's very easy to embrace that because it has really helped my mental health. Now, I can't see people in the way that I used to. I can't, you know, go and hang out in people's houses. We can't go and eat in restaurants. We can't go to the cinema. But what we can do is socially distance stuff. So I have been able to see friends and go for walks, masked up, of course. I have been able to go cycling with friends, again, masked up. And it has just been a joy. I have managed to go on some really long walks this week. I've done about 7.5 mile walks, which has been absolutely lovely. For those of you who don't know, I'm usually a fairly active person. I'm usually running super regularly, and the reason I was planning to do this hike is because I felt fit enough to do so. So on the bright side, it's probably a good thing that this hike is not going ahead at the end of August, because I'm not sure I could manage it. So I do have a bit longer to get myself fit and ready again. Now, the last time I had a week off was towards the beginning of lockdown. I can't remember when it was, April? But I did a load of vlogs, I'll link to them below, about my lockdown leave. And what I did then was I spent some time making the podcast look a bit different, as you may have noticed, and starting 2 new series here on the channel. So if you haven't seen them, I'm now doing a every other week series about goal setting called Goal Power. It's a lot about bullet journaling in there and how I bullet journal. And I'm also doing Frock Tales, which is again every other week, talking about period dramas that I've seen and what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy about them. And I spent that week really getting up early, going for runs and making videos, and I really needed that because I felt very out of control. There was no end in sight for lockdown, and I thought, if I can do this, if I can make my little internet home a better place, that would make me feel good. And it really did help. And I kind of thought that this week I would do a bit more of the same. You know, that I would batch film a load of videos for Goal Power and Frock Tales that I could have scheduled up and ready to go, so I don't have to worry about them. And in fact, I didn't do any of that. And I went for long walks, and I picked up cinnamon buns, and I saw friends, as I said, to go cycling and to go for walks with. And I have been avoiding the tube as much as possible, which on the bright side means that I do a lot of walking. So where I'm able to walk into town, for example, I will do that, because to me walking masked up is that bit more safe than getting on the tube with a mask on. And it has just been lovely. And even though we have to take these extra precautions that we've never had to kind of think about before, you know, these days my mask and my gloves and my hand sanitizer all just live in my bag. When I've washed my mask, it just goes straight back into my bag as soon as it's dried. And these have become new habits, and they don't feel oppressive in any way, because they mean that I can see people. And obviously I'm incredibly lucky because I got to lock down at home with my mum and my nan, but I've really missed seeing my people and my friends, and it has been lovely to see some of them this week. And I just feel so great about it. And yes, I am already planning kind of what to do with my week off that is coming up next month. And I'm thinking that I will have 2 plans and hopefully I'll be able to take some day trips somewhere, maybe get up north a little bit to do some hiking. But I will also quite happily make more videos. And you know, I've been really excited about creating more stuff for this channel now that I've started branching out into other things that I love. I'm considering doing a daily vlog for NaNoWriMo. For those of you who don't know what that is, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. As always, I'll leave a link below, and it's where you write a novel or 50,000 words in a month. And I haven't done that in a good few years. So I thought I'd give it a go this year, and I might vlog it as well, because I'm just really enjoying sharing other passions here. And it just feels great. It just feels like I'm kind of back into my skin again. I don't know if I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but I've never known if claustrophobia is the right word, because I don't mind small spaces as long as I can get out. I don't like feeling trapped, and I don't know if there's a word for that. So on very, very long train and plane journeys, I can get a lot uncomfortable because I know that I can't get off, and I don't like that. And I think that's kind of what lockdown was kind of triggering for me, was that particular issue that I have where I get very upset about feeling like I can't get out and do things. So for me, even though there are restrictions, I personally am not going to pubs and restaurants because it seems unnecessary. We have beautiful weather. There's no reason I can't meet people and sit outside. For me, even with those restrictions, just being able to leave the house has just been such a relief. And being able to see people, even though I can't hug them, even though they have to be 2 meters away, it's just so beautiful. It's just so nice. And wherever you are, I hope that you are experiencing the same and you're seeing an easing in lockdown. And I hope that you and your family are safe. But if you are in a place where lockdown is not easing, or if you are somebody who is immunocompromised or has some other issues that means even as lockdown is lifting, you can't take advantage of it, I'm so sorry. And I hope that you are okay. And I hope that you are kind of getting through as much as you can. And I hope the end is in sight as well. I hope that there'll be a time when you too can experience the relief of getting back outside again and seeing people again. Because it really, honestly, I don't think for the rest of my life I will ever take for granted just being able to sit at one end of a bench and talk to somebody face to face while sipping a coffee. Honestly, I think that we need a lot to be happy. And there is a lot that we do need to make us happy. We need to know that our needs are met. There is a roof over our head and our bills are paid and there will be food on the table. We need that level of security. But actually beyond that, the things that make us happy are not new things, new stuff, it's people. And I think we all knew that. But having it taken away from us so completely for such a long time really taught us that in a way we hadn't had it before. So that's it for this week. The Mojo is A-Gojo, and I'm excited. I'm excited to go away, make a couple more videos that I'm going to get scheduled up for Frocktails and Gold Power. I'm excited to share this episode with you, and I'm excited to kind of think of the other things I want to share with you. You know, apart from vlogging NaNoWriMo, I want to do videos about London, because just getting back out into my city has been a joy, and I want to show you around, and I can't wait to do that. But that's it for this week. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but that's the ice cream van. And I think I'm gonna get an ice cream. Wherever you are, I hope you and your family are staying safe and staying healthy. If you're able to, I hope you're getting outside and enjoying this beautiful weather. If you are a carer, you work in the NHS, you work in any of the vital services like supermarkets, and you're still doing your bit on the front line, thank you. As always, thank you so much. I will see you very soon for another cup of tea. Take care, bye.